Blessings, 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 blessings be unto you. This is Mercedes Warrick, and welcome to Sacred Key. I wanted to give you an opportunity to see what a card reading would look like. Actually, I'm going to start calling them prompting sessions, because what I am finding is that these cards are representations of the radiant soul balancing and the material that's in the library of guidance on Sacred Key. And I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. I think that when we see a symbolic representation of energy, it is different than seeing the word. And so it somehow cuts right through the psyche and gets down into a resonance level with the soul and connecting into the oneness that we are. I always say that we are one unified wholeness complete, right? One unified wholeness complete. We are the oneness. We live in this dual existence as we go through our day-to-day living, and I think we sometimes forget about that quintessential magnificence that we are made up of. Even the body's just vibrating at a different frequency, but it is still, so it can be solid, so it can be the container of our essence. And even that's kind of a misnomer, because we're not really contained. It is just different stratas of frequency that we were vibrating at. And in order to be living on Earth, we have to be in the physical. We are in this body. And so that is the one. And then the unified is we come into an understanding of that. You know, we are the ocean and we are the drop. So if we were to scoop out into a cup of ocean, as it were, then the ocean is contained within the cup. But when we pour it back in, or if the cup dissolves, if the body dissolves, that is a returning back into that ocean of divine essence and energy. And then the wholeness is really a completion of understanding as we walk in this plane, that we can walk divinely. We do not only walk earthly. We can walk as divine energy, as that quintessential essence, and live through that nature as well. So these cards somehow, how they came, I think I'll give you a little bit of history. I had an allergic reaction to some medication, and literally my, as well as the physical manifestation, the rash and the uncomfortableness and the swelling of the tongue and all that other stuff that was very unpleasant. There was sort of this splitting in my psyche, in my brain, and it was like this opening. And one morning, as I was attempting through all of that discomfort to do my spiritual practice, all of these symbols images started just downloading, with almost like a cascade of alphabet soup that was coming into me. And I had my journal, and I just started writing. The first 40 came right through, and then the remaining 37 came over the course of the next few days. Because, you know, at that point, I'm the human gets in there and goes, okay, what's going on? Why is this happening? You know, those kinds of things. And so I just started to journal. And then what you'll see today is the rendering. I had done a book called The Soul Inspired Tune-Up, and part of that, it was a way for you to make your own tool. So I had these blank cards in my repertoire, and I just transferred the symbols from my journal onto these cards, and then I began to do them, and they were magnificent. There was things that were coming out. There was one day, you wouldn't have known from the way the cards had laid out, like the symbols had laid out, but the underlying energy was that I was really angry, and I kind of had a right to be. I was kind of thriving, and then was placed on this medication, and all bets were off for a while. It took me a minute to get back. So I know that I was probably saying something like, I want to stay in my work and I can't get there, show me a way. And the psyche opened up, and in comes a symbol. But the brilliance of this is now, when this is all complete, you will have a way, because I am going to make this into a tool that you'll be able to use. I'm offering these prompting sessions, these radiant soul balancing prompting sessions right now, and you can schedule them on Sacred Key. Go to schedule an appointment, and you'll see that there. Now, what you're seeing here is what I'm right now. I don't know. I've got a number of different names for it. The spiritual ecosystem, the master seed. We come into this iteration of life, embodiment, with everything that we need. And this actually represents, this is a part of a model. This is the center part of a larger model that is actually a six-sided star that, or a hexagon, because I have filled in the shape, that I am, I don't know that it would be correct to call it the Merkaba, but we all come in with what we need. And we come in with talent and gifts, and then we come in with balance and blessings and awareness. So those frequencies are the things that we can contemplate on at any time in our life. So if you know the story of me and my art, I was in this really, transformative moment in my life. I was losing my house and getting thrown out into the world. That's what it felt like, with cold water. My house had been my cave. I caved in. It was the right thing to happen. I needed to be booted out of that safety cocoon. And I remember literally being on my knees in my living room, and I said, I just want some joy in my life. And very quickly through a set of synchronistic events, I came into art without ever taking a class or anything like that. I came into art. And so it was that creative, that's why these cards, I know these cards are divinely given to me, because it's that you get to that space, and then there's this burst of creativity that comes forward. And that's how we could call it the divine solution set, when we're going through something and we just get, that's the connectiveness. That connectiveness is available to us at all times. And that is really the new learnings. That's a new opportunity in the scale of all possibilities. We do not have to be in a state of despair or suffering in order to connect at that divine level. I'm trying not to use hierarchical terms, higher, lower, bigger, smaller, but because it really is a state of existing. And we don't have to go anywhere to be there. As we exist in the existence, it just is. And that, in some ways sounds like, some metaphysical gobbledygook, but having lived this over the last 3 years, I do know that it is real. It is something that is absolutely real. So in a session, I would be spreading these cards like this, and then I would be, rubbing my hands together, and then I would go like this, and we'd pick a card, right? And I'm actually going to take this card today. We had a little bit of technical difficulties yesterday, and I pulled. I was doing this recording, and I pulled this pull that was really quite significant. So I'm going to lay these cards out again to talk about them. But just in honor of the kind of the redo here, there's never any accidents we're going to pull. So the frequencies that we can come in and contemplate on are love. Now, love is the transformative, shape-shifting, transcending frequency. These are all frequencies. When I say we're in love, we're in the frequency of love. Life is the flow of force. It is the absolute uh, um, kind of the energy pack of flow in our lives. And if you think about it, we're not trying to digest our food. We are not trying to have our heart beat. These things are just happening. We're not fixing our eyes to see. There's mechanisms in our just in this wonderful vessel that just happen. And so when we get into the flow of life and we get into the cultivation of that energy and that flow and that essence, that can be very powerful, especially if we are depleted. And when we get sick, that is a depletion of energy, life force energy. Yes? Okay. Now, light's been an interesting one for me because, let's see, how can I say this? It's a catalyst. It's catalysts. Any two energies come together, and they come together. There's a spark, and it creates a new third energy. I call it the third energy. That third energy, when we have an understanding of that, we are always in the creative field. We are always creating. It's not like we sit and we manifest and then we meditate and then we say, okay, we go through all of this process. Those processes become irrelevant when you understand that we are always creating because we're always interacting with something. Our environment, our relatives, our co-workers, when we go to do gardening, when we interact with our children, we are always co-creating. The other point of light is that that spark is an illumination. So even in the darkness there is light. Light exists, and it is a matter of us understanding that that both the darkness and the light come together in creation to create something. Those are the two essences or the two energies that come together to spark creation. And sometimes there's more darkness. We plant the seed in the earth, and the earth nurtures us while we are resting and feeds us. We were in the womb. There was catalyzation happening on a grand scale in the womb because two biological materials came together. There was a spark, and the cells started to multiply. So there's these times that even when we're in the light, even as we are in the light, we are in the darkness. And so both have purpose, both were poignant. And when we say there is only good and only good, there, even in the darkness, in the light, even in the light, there is illumination. There's catalyzation, there's creation happening. There's vibration happening. We are always moving. Something is always happening, even if we can't see it in the darkness because of the darkness, right? Or the fact that the light is so bright. They just showed me that. Don't go all the way dark. The light can be blinding, right? As well. So that's two things to keep in mind. Liberty is not a frequency that I have meditated on so much. I'm coming into it because I'm now understanding that liberty is freedom, and freedom has no cultural definitions. Freedom has no containers. When you close your eyes, do you see like this bowl that has our essence in it? No. Do you even see the body that has the essence in it? No. It is this alpha and omega. There's no beginning, no end. There is this there is just this expansiveness. And so for me, liberty has meant spaciousness, expansion, unlimitedness, no definition. When I am in my human state, I'm defining. And it was so interesting because I had a download this week about the words using the expression. I am an expression of God. And as I catalyze and am the light with other beings, other human beings, I'm catalyzing and I'm the expression. We are expressing God in our words, in our actions, in our mindset, in our being, in our existence. We are the expression of God. And when I am experiencing life, to truly be in existence, to truly be in the nothingness, the no definition, the allowance, I find, I will speak in the I find that as I choose to be aware of the experience, what is happening is I'm assigning values and judgments, good or bad, left or right, up or down, higher or lower, and I'm really attempting now in my life to be the expression. I am the expression of health and vitality. That means I am. If I am experiencing health and vitality, it's kind of outside of me. I am is the statement of expression and existence. I, being consciousness, am being the existence. And we exist on all planes, all levels, in frequency, in density, vibration, materialization, and then as we have something, the actual having of it, the confirmation that it is in existence, that I can use whatever is come forward, that I am whatever has come forward. I am the expression of life and vitality. And when I think about that and my recent health journey, it's like, yeah, if I'm experiencing cancer, then it's outside of me. I'm experiencing it. I'm having to react to it. But as the expression of health and vitality, there's more of me that is healthy than was ill. And that's a fact. Even as I was going out of this world, back a few years ago, there was more of me healthy. And my doctors say that I'm the healthiest cancer patient they've got. Perfect blood pressure, all this stuff is going on, right? So, but for this little occurrence in my body, this little, this experience, I would be I am actually a healthy, rocking individual. So I choose to be living as the expression of health and vitality, other than going through the experience of cancer. And you'll hear my language start changing. It was really a big insight. So right here, I have the cards that I originally had pulled the other day, and we are going to, and these are the cards. You can see the Soul Inspired Tune-Up. These are the cards from the Soul Inspired Tune-Up. You can see that here. And this right here, that's what I just talked about. This is the energized expression of existence, the everything and the nothingness. And when I think about this access point, this radiant soul point, the balance point, I have experienced it. Like, it's kind of like you go kind of the way that it's expressed in the normal is, you're going into your heart chakra, but there's a gateway, a doorway that opens in the back of the heart. Like when I'm visualizing it, and I likened it to being here, seeing a canyon and walking through the canyon, and then it opens, and then you get to the other side, the other opening at the end of the canyon, and there's this whole other expression of life and nature and living. And in my realm, it's usually a it almost looks like a starlit sky, like I can see the whole universe. you know, or the beginnings of the universe, because who knows what's even behind that. But I see this whole big expansiveness, and that's going through. I think in the Bible they talk about, being liberated from all of your earthly possessions and walking through the eye of the needle, right? That would be the equivalent, and it's a very real point. I've experienced it. I know. Okay, so love, the transformative energy that is of this reading, is awakening to the Christedness. And I love this card in this position because it is like expressing expressing love at it's like you release yourself into this love that is undefined, undiscernible. It's like this yeah, sometimes when I use the word joy, it's like this sort of elevated state, and then we come down. But the expression of just existing in joy, existing in love, and then knowing it's like the Christ consciousness. I call this the love consciousness. It's the I am that I am, and it is loving self first at the deepest level of sacredness. And this is really truly, this a phrase came to me a couple of weeks ago. This is really truly the journey to sacred. When we express ourselves in love, I would not be here today had I not had this deep and profound life experience. And that deep and profound life experience, literally, I felt my heart literally pop open. And how do we get there is really without sacrifice and surrender, those kinds of words, and solution seeking, because we're not really fixing anything. We're just expressing and being in the state of our divinity, allowing things to come into us, to come into our sphere. And so it is knowing that everything that comes forward is of the divine, has a poignant poignancy to the expression of why it's here. And so even in the face of something that could kill you, literally, I mean, robbery at gunpoint and cancer has been my two experiences like this. There was a space that was so spacious and life-giving that I was able to express myself beyond my limits, beyond my knowing. And that's what love does. Love is the transformative force. So what this card is calling us to do is to really allow ourselves to be sacred. And as we are sacred within ourselves, we become the expression of sacredness, and then sacredness appears. Okay, whatever that looks like for you. Now, the force of flow, this was really an interesting card. And this is why I decided to keep this layout today, because it said open the gateway. And I actually have a thing that I do most mornings where I put my hands together like this, and I put them over my head, and I allow the expression of God to come into me. And then to that oneness, allowing myself to be fortified by the ocean of God, of the divine frequency. And I can imagine like little droplets of God, or little droplets of reignition, flowing in and fortifying me and amplifying me, and elevating my levels of God force or life force within me. And I literally lay down on my bed. This is actually standing meditation in Qigong. I think it looks like this more, but I put my hands together and opening up that gateway to allow life to flow. Now, when we allow life to flow, what happens is we are not involved in the operation. I don't have to think about breathing. I just breathe, and the oxygen circulates and life is sustained, right? And that's the other part of this. So as we open the gateway in the divine consciousness, this divine consciousness of this just expressed love of consciousness, this is saying open the gateway and allow it to happen. Be in receipt of it, right? Now, as we turn this card over, this was really interesting. In Sacred Key, we talk about the four natures, really. So the natural nature is comprised of the human nature in this plane as we live on Earth. The human nature, the spiritual nature, and the divine nature. And I'm not going to go into this, but it's saying the human nature, which is the horizontal lines and the horizontal plane, and it's saying bring this into your daily living. You can walk in this energy as this Christ did, or love consciousness. You can bring it into your daily living, bring it into the human plane, into the natural human nature. It can you can catalyze you can catalyze the divine presence in your daily living. We are in the presence right now of a grand resetting to the scale of not been seen in many generations on Earth. My first vision this morning was that, there is grief beyond understanding and pain beyond our tolerance. So how would we be able to know that this is a poignant, principled, as in spiritual principle, time when our loved ones are transitioning and at a rate that is just inconceivable, and that there is real concern about basic needs and comforts. When we are in this state, this is the journey to sacred, because when we are in this state, there is so much to not understand, but to be in the knowing that it is a unified completion. We live until we live eternally. So the energy has the light energy of whatever is happening is the catalyzing. You're there, this experience is happening, and it's catalyzing a third energy, a third expression of God. And that is really the poignant that is really the spiritual ecosystem that many people are journeying through. And so even in this time, there are people that are catalyzing spaciousness and expansion and increase, even through the grief, to be just quite frank about it, the grief. This is a spiritual moment of such great proportions that it is releasing the knowingness of sacredness, of life, of humanity, of the earth, of divinity. And so, we have said many times this year already that the micro, this taking care of self, will influence the macro. And that is why opening the gateways, expanding the consciousness of love in your sphere will allow these things to come into the human nature and become expressions in your life. Okay. So it is worth It is worth, there is worth, value in taking a breath. It does not have to, we talked about the simple prayer, praying the simple prayer, the consciousness of praying. It does not have to be elaborate or long. It is so important that it is in the consciousness. It is your consciousness, your expression, and your awareness, of now bringing yourself forward vulnerably, humbly, patiently, and compassionately. We can and we will bring this consciousness, the spaciousness and expansion into the system. And it's going to take, I'm a cell on the earth, you're a cell on the earth, your neighbor is a cell on the earth. And it's going to take these, it's almost like we're microorganisms. It's going to take this microorganisms to really make peace and love and divinity, the human as divine. So what have we got here? Communion with the all-knowing. So that's just perfect. That's what I was talking about. And it's in the freedom, it's in liberty. And again, it's infinite, and we bring it into the infinite. It's the infinite divine coming through the heart space and expressing itself as the infinite. And it's saying that there's no container. So even if you're in a situation that seems very buttoned up and contained, know that that is just what you can see with your five senses, but there's more. And so as you seek and open the gateway, and not so much the seeking, but as you focus and concentrate on just being love, is this loving today? Reveal to me the love in this situation, and it will. The gateway opens. It will manifest in your daily existence, and it is just a matter of communing with the all-knowing, knowing that you don't know it all, and that there is so much more. It's uncontained, unknown, and Anoni HK9, and it's just saying, I don't know. Show me. I don't know. Reveal a way. So this, I just love this reading. That's why I redid it today. And this card in this spot is quintessential, because real is realized energy actualized in life. And so as we are walking through that canyon to open up that doorway into the expansive spaciousness that I talked about, it is a real thing. It is real. We live in this dimension, and we can exist as divine beings. We can be that expression. And so what we are being encouraged to do, I mean, look at this on the vertical plane here, which is the divine. Look, open the gateway, allow the energy to become realized, and commune and release it into the unknown. Have the freedom to let it do its thing. Don't contain it, don't define it, don't direct it. Look at that. That is just delicious. And then as we awaken to this deeper sense of, sixth sense love, basically, that energy again can become actualized and anchored. That's what that little dot is, anchored into our daily living. And it can manifest and this is the horizontal. So this is the living plane. So now this is a card that I don't know what is here. Isn't that perfect? Focus on your heart. So even though things may be a little tough right now, or things may be great, either way, I've seen a lot of weddings happening, and things are births, a lot of babies coming, and there's new life and new sprouting. So just focus on that heart space. Focus on your heart. If you just let Anoni HK now, you can just lay your hand over your heart and just say, I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. Focus on your heart. Your heart. Fill up the tank. That's part of the consciousness of prayer we're going to be talking about. It took a whole left turn from where I thought it was going, and it said, and then one of the sessions was fill up from the reservoir, fill up from the ocean. Focus on your heart. Okay. So from here in a session, I would show you how to breathe into these, at least one of them, because the abbreviated session is 44 minutes. So you would get this, we would get to this point, and generally some channel would come in, and then we would breathe. And we would breathe into this, and hopefully you'll feel a real sense of peace. There's a sacred, I call it the sacred promise. My sacred promise in my life has been peace. Whenever I feel that something is just the right thing to do, there is this peace that, I mean, literally just washes over me. And I actually exhale. You know, usually it's just sort of like it comes and I exhale. And as I'm inhaling, it just sort of anchors and settles into me. And I know that I've truly connected into that divine. That is the sacred promise. You have one. You know, you have one, I promise you. So that sacred promise, if you look back, you'll say, you know, when I'm happy, I feel so content. And so maybe your sacred promise is contentment, or humility could be one. So you come into that sacred promise. So I think that is enough for now. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I am very excited about this. I've done a few of these readings. They have been absolutely poignant. That is the word. Opening and revealing. For me, it's been revealing a lot of times. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your blessings. Blessings be unto you. Namaste.